Spring is on the way and the statistics for February are in, and it was a record-breaking month. We saw months of inventory continuing to drop. We've gone from a balanced market back into a seller's market, and the average closing price of properties in Lethbridge reached an all-time high. Hello everyone, my name's Murray. I'm a realtor here in Lethbridge, and whether you're a home buyer, seller, or just interested in keeping up with the local real estate market, I'm sure you will find this video useful. Without further ado, let's dive in and see what's been happening last month in Lethbridge. The first thing we'll be looking at is the number of sales and the number of active listings on the market. I'll be comparing these numbers to the 5-year averages for February instead of the year over year to give you the clearest picture as to where we are now. This February, Lethbridge saw 107 sales, which is below the 5-year average number of 135. This puts us pretty much right in line with pre-pandemic levels. It's important to note that February is a shorter month and generally has lower sales volume. We have been, and we still are, way below average for the number of listings on the market. Our 5-year average for the month of February is 547. We ended this February with only 412, which is 25% lower than the 5-year average. So, although it looks like we're seeing a slightly below average number of sales, proportionally, we're actually seeing more of the properties sold. The next statistic is months of inventory. Months of inventory is simply how many months it would take to theoretically sell every property on the market at the current rate if no new properties were put on the market. We were trending up ever since last March, but January saw a drop and February we dropped even further to 3.8 months of inventory. A seller's market is generally defined as less than 4 months of inventory, so technically we're in a seller's market, but just barely. Now let's look at the record-breaking number, or is it? The average closing price of residential properties last month was higher than we've ever seen in Lethbridge at around $352,000. This surprised me because in January, the average closing price was just under $300,000, which is the lowest we've seen in some time. This is the biggest difference in month-to-month change we've seen in the last 5 years. And the second biggest difference was actually the drop last month. So we had the biggest drop followed by the biggest rise. When doing my research for this video, this number really stumped me. So I looked closer into it and found that the average closing price per square foot was nearly identical. So what that means is in February, properties that sold were on average nearly 200 square feet bigger. So for whatever reason, people were buying bigger properties last month than the previous one. So sellers, I'm sorry to tell you, no, your property did not increase 50K in value in 1 month. And buyers, you can take a sigh of relief knowing the same. As for other things that happened in the real estate world, we saw the Canada 5-year bond yield jump up roughly 0.6%. As a result, the 5-year fixed rates have increased similarly. The 5-year rate went from mid 4% at the start of February to low 5s now. There was no Bank of Canada meeting date last month, but there is a scheduled announcement for their overnight lending rate on March 8th. Many economists are predicting that there'll be no change, positive or negative. In other non-real estate related news, Canada saw the biggest solar storm we've seen in the last 5 years. The northern lights, or the Aurora Borealis, were visible all over Lethbridge. Here are a couple pictures I took from right in the city and just outside the city. It looks like the Lethbridge market is pretty balanced and just barely leaning towards a seller's market. I try to be as transparent as possible to give you the best picture of the current market. If there's any other statistic that you think that I missed, or maybe you just want to know what your neighbor down the street sold their house for, reach out to me anytime and I'd be happy to help. I'm a licensed realtor here in Lethbridge with the Real Estate One team, and my details are on the screen or down in the description below. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, please give the video a like as it helps me tremendously. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.